your courteous and efficient real estate agents. Call 485-1456 or email carrotbiz@gmail.com.
People-centered, community-focused, building economic empowerment and resilience in our constituencies. Let's talk. Let us discuss. Constituency Vibes with me, your host, Ricky Alexander, every Wednesday on Sky FM 93.1 from 8 p.m. People-centered, community-focused, building economic empowerment and resilience in our constituencies. Let's talk. Let us discuss. Constituency Vibes with me, your host, Ricky Alexander, every Wednesday on Sky FM 93.1 from 8 p.m.
For Soufre Salty Bus.
Sponsor job.
Yeah. Soufre Fossation. Did I say Soufre Salty Bus?
Yeah. All right, we get into that, of course, and we're giving the people proper quality community representation at every level. We have our normal in-house cleaning, and so we'll go through our rules as we said. Of course, this is a program that we want to keep clean, a program that we want to ensure that we allow you to participate and we interact, and so we want to do things in a particular way. So rule number 1, thou shalt not use language or public officials or persons in general. Thou shalt not listen to thyself on the radio, as it may cause feedback. Thou shalt turn your radio down. You'll be able to listen to the host by keeping your radio down so we minimize feedback. Thou shalt practice good etiquette when expressing your viewpoint. Thou shalt choose to identify the area that thou art calling from. Thou shalt respect the views of other callers without making insults and abuses with reference to previous callers, even though you may disagree with what the caller has to say. And of course, we want you to be gentle and civil at all times. So welcome to Constituency Vibes. This is the program where we enlighten you, inform you as to what government is doing. Nous avons patois bonsoir tout le monde. Ça qui a coûté dans l'autre pays, la diaspora, tout le monde qui est en Saint-Lucie. C'est un programme Constituency Vibes que nous avons informé sur tout ça, le gouvernement café a different coming. Quand nous regardons la côté, nous pas voulons coûter Charles, quand on dit Charles qui a dit un chai qui pas vrai, c'est pas coûter Charles. Nous avons if information côté où ils savent tout ça qui aller. And of course we are enlightening you, empowering you to ensure that you understand what is going on. Of course, this is the program supported with the work on the ground, work that is touching you, work that you feel the impact of, and of course through the visionary leadership of our Prime Minister, Honorable Alan Chastity, and his team of competent men and women in the cabinet who are working diligently, who are working consistently, who are working tirelessly to ensure that we bring you programs, policies, and development initiatives throughout the length and breadth of St. Lucia. You look everywhere, you look around in our 238 square miles, you feel the impact, you see the work, you see what is happening. We want you to tune out the naysayers. We particularly in the time of COVID-19, and of course the COVID virus has its economic impacts, but this is a government that's making no excuses, a government of creativity, a government of ingenuity, a government that will look for creative solutions in a pragmatic way to be able to deliver to the people. All civil servants are being paid, work is ongoing in terms of what is happening in the health sector, and we have Honorable Dominic Fede, who is chairman of the COVID Center, so we'll be able to get feedback and an update on what is happening. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, I now welcome our guests, Honorable Harold Stanislas and Honorable Dominic Fede. Welcome to Constituency Vibes.
Thank you very much, Ricky, and thank you for having myself and Minister Fede on your show tonight. It's really a pleasure to be with you and to be with the listeners and the people of St. Lucia tonight. It gives us an opportunity to articulate to the people of St. Lucia, like you amply said, the work of this government, the good work of this government on behalf of the people of St. Lucia. So we're very happy to be here tonight.
Thank you, Ricky. It's the first time I'm on a show with my favorite minister, Herod, and as I was trying to say earlier, really the best MP in my lifetime for Soufriere Fossejak.
Okay, welcome, gentlemen. Minister Fede, we start off with you. We are in budget time. The government is in this COVID environment. We have a budget well crafted to suit the needs of St. Lucians, a budget where we are not making no excuse, a budget that in fact is resilience, perseverance, tolerance as a people as we go forward to bring out our skills and our creativity, where we're not making excuses, but we're letting St. Lucians know that they elected a team of workers that's going to work and deliver them, come what may, rain or shine, or COVID-19. Your take, Minister.
Well, I think it's a very, very difficult and challenging time, not just for us, but the world. And, we live in an interconnected world, and what's happening in the bigger countries will effectively affect what's taking place in St. Lucia. And, I think, though, that I'm very, very encouraged by what we're seeing with the vaccination. The World Bank has actually adjusted its outlook for the economic outturn in the world. So that will be very good for jobs and very good for small businesses here in St. Lucia and very good for the government's fiscal position and for us to be able to return to normalcy in not so far from now. I was just sharing in the Parliament with the House that when we look at the three main countries that we do business with, so in the United States, they have seen their worst economic slump of about 3.5% since the Great Depression. They haven't seen anything like it. The Canadians have seen the greatest slowdown in their economy since 1961, since they started recording economic statistics. And in the UK, a 9.9% decline last year in their economy. And that is the worst they have had in 300 years. So when you factor all those things together, you will see that our link trading-wise from the tourism industry and bananas shipping to the UK would be significantly affected because of how those countries are doing. If we think of remittances coming back to our families from members of the diaspora in all of those countries, it would be significantly reduced because a lot of our employees, you would see that the United States government has a stimulus package for $1.9 trillion, it goes to show you the scale of the problem that is affecting the U.S., as well as it's affecting our relatives abroad who, in our time of need, would usually send us a bit of money to help to curtail whatever we're going through. But I don't want to talk for too long. I want to get Harold in. But there's some good news that I would like to share with your listeners. There is a lot of hope in what is taking place. But I think it's important to establish where we are coming from. And, you know, in the local context, COVID-19 has cost our economy over $1.1 billion of economic activity that disappeared. Just imagine it for a second. The economy shrunk from 5.36 billion to 4.2 billion. It's over 1.1 billion. That's a lot of money. And so, therefore, it's very, very hard to recuperate that loss. In addition to that, the revenue went down by 279 million. So if the government is picking up less taxes, then it's unable to really give services such as health care and all of that. But despite all that, Ricky, we have still paid salaries every month. We have met our debt obligations every month. We have kept the international reputation of St. Lucia intact. We have not presided over a collapse. In these circumstances, what you have seen, I mean, a 20% decline in your economy, a 21% decline in the government taxes or revenues, these are pretty big numbers. This is a shock to the belly of the economy. And so, therefore, it becomes very, very hard to govern. We've still managed COVID. We've opened up the Victoria Hospital. We've opened up Owen King EU Hospital. Our friends in the opposition couldn't open it. They had a naming ceremony, paid $100,000 and had a big cocktail party just to name the hospital. We opened it. And we opened it in the most difficult of circumstances. We paid for the salaries of 100 Cubans to come to help the COVID fight. And the bill for COVID being on the command center, I can tell you, it just keeps going up and up because every single day there's a new reality. Just recently we had to beef up our testing capacity. And now I'm happy to tell the nation that the backlog has been crushed by the Owen King EU lab. We have mobilized the forensic lab to bring the collective capacity of our country to test and process over 1,000 different samples a day. This is pretty significant. When we look at the current number of active cases, it's 158 is the last number I saw. That tells you that our Department of Health, led by the Minister of Health and the CMO, they have worked day in, day night, and they have crushed the curve, which showed that we were peaking over 1,000 cases in some of those instances. But we've done all of this quietly, Ricky. And we have done all of this amidst criticism and amidst a lot of trepidation and anguish and anxiety among people as they saw the spike in December. But I want to assure your viewers that 99% of our cases have recovered. Unfortunately, 55 individuals have died. And today I celebrate the second anniversary of the passing of my father. He didn't die from COVID. But the pain that me and my family feel is very, very similar to what a lot of families are going through right now. And some of them are my constituents who are in very, very critical conditions because of COVID. And, you know, having to share these moments with your constituents, it's very, very tough. And it's not something that any of us would hope for. But Harold and I can assure you and your listeners that we're going to fight with every single fiber of our being to make sure that we get this situation under control and we keep our people safe.
Thank you. Minister Harold, the theme for the budget, the throne speech, adapting, overcoming, and persevering, where we are a nation, we are a resilient nation. You're part of the cabinet of ministers. You delivered your presentation this morning, perhaps just a little overview from your standpoint as a Minister of Government in terms of the budget that we have before us in this critical time.
Yeah, thank you, Ricky. Like Dom said, these are unprecedented times right now for us in St. Lucia and the world. As a small island developing state, which depends heavily on tourism as the main sector for the country, our main source markets have been devastated as a result of COVID-19. And this has created, like he articulated, major shortfall in revenue, which has impacted the government's fiscal position in delivering on the many services which we usually deliver and offer to our citizenry. This budget, like I articulated in my presentation today, is a budget of hope, it's a budget of recovery, and it's a budget of resiliency, because we believe that we are a resilient nation, we are resilient people, and we are going to bounce back from the impact of COVID-19. We've been tried and tested before as a government, as a party, and we have always bounced back better than before. So I want to clearly tell our listeners, our St. Lucian people, that this government, this budget, is a budget about putting St. Lucia back on the trajectory of growth and development post-COVID-19.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Ricky, before you come in, I mean, as MPs, both Herod and myself, I call him Herod because he's like a brother, but it's Minister Stanislas for the rest of you. So.
And I call him Dom.
Yes, I love the camaraderie.
Yeah. Two youngest guys in the cabinet, so we have to get on. But the point is, Ricky, is that as you go through this country, you see the fallout of the economy affecting people that you know and I know. And what we sought to do when we sat down to put together the estimates, to design the policies, to bring our country out of the hole that COVID-19 has landed St. Lucia in, we thought long and hard, Ricky, about the vendors who haven't worked since March. Herod can speak about his tour guides in Sufra, who in and out, whenever there's a lockdown of attractions that the tourists cannot go, they go home. When we talk about the taxi drivers at La Place Carinage and the taxi drivers at Curtis Holiday, which is at Point Seraphim, when you talk about farmers who have had their produce selling to hotels, and that number has been significantly reduced, sometimes no purchases at all. I've been on farms in my constituency where farmers, because of lack of market access brought about by the shutdown of tourism, they have to dump their produce. So it is a budget of compassion. It is a budget of care. When you look at how much we're spending in healthcare, the figure has gone up significantly. What we're spending in education to bring about more and better devices to our students, the figure has gone up. And it is within that context that our Prime Minister, the Minister of Finance, and his team sat down with the Cabinet of Ministers and tried to design a set of policies in the most difficult and challenging time in our nation's history. And, you know, on the note of our PM, he is exactly what is required to run this country right now. When I listen to what's going on in the opposition, there's no plan, there's no vision.
Well, you heard from the leader of the opposition today in terms of his response
was just
to the budget.
Typical scattershot rant. And to be very frank, that's how I see it. And I say it with the greatest amount of passion because it saddens me to see that the main opposition political party is such a state in disarray. They have done the most reckless things. The march is really unthinkable. If you care about people, if you are compassionate, if you are responsible, you will not expose thousands of supporters that you want to vote for you, right, to go and have a political march. And so I just want to establish the context of what's going on in this country. Because, Ricky, if we don't get a handle on this situation, then what we have to do, look, the new situation with the police and the various community attacks, the opposition wouldn't come out and condemn these attacks. And that is what is required, is to come in and support the security officials and to say that as an opposition party, we don't stand for this disorderly behavior in our country. And what we stand for is law and order. Because it is only when there's decency and there's law and order that our country can have the safest environment for investment and for an economy to take place and for us to create jobs, opportunity, and for us to have sectors like education being conducted in a systematic way. It is the only way we can do it. And so I believe that this election has to be the most important election, Harold.
The most critical election in the history of St. Lucia. Critical for everybody and everything. And St. Lucians ought to take this upcoming election very, very seriously and be able to compare the two parties. Both parties have been in governance before. This current, this part, the United Workers' Party, we have governed for the past 4.5 years, and St. Lucians have seen what it is that we're capable of doing. The Labour Party have had their turn, the chances, and they have failed on many, many occasions, and they are bringing nothing new to the table. It's the same old political rhetoric that comes from the mouths of the leader of the opposition and his other members. And therefore, persons have to be very, very thoughtful, very critical in analyzing, comparing, contrasting the two parties and the performance of those two parties going into these next general elections. But like Dom said earlier, there is no better person, no better man, no better leader, prime minister to lead this country into this COVID pandemic and post-COVID the pandemic other than Alan Shasley. I mean, this man is, this is a compassionate man, he's a loving, caring man, he's a very strong leader, very determined, very committed, and I know he has what it takes. He has the vision, the ideas, the creativity in him. He has that zeal, that energy to put St. Lucia back on the track of progress, growth, and development post-COVID.
Minister, you are definitely on the area that I want to go into. Two things. This election, critically, any election, is about leadership. And so before we get into the programs and activities of the government and its initiative that separates us from the other side, St. Lucians listeners would recall that when Minister Stephenson King was Prime Minister, I remember distinctly that the Honorable Ernest Hilaire, who is now the member for Castries South, when he was campaigning, he was on one of the programs, and at the time, his focus was on leadership. He said, look, the United Workers' Party has performed, the economy has improved, there is growth, stuff like that, but that the leadership of the party at the time was in disarray. We had Super 8, we had all of that, and the basis of his argument was really about leadership, despite the performance that we have. And when we look at what is happening in the opposition, we can see that the tables clearly have turned, and that you have serious leadership issues in that regard. It appears that it is some kind of fraction or section of what is happening in some of the constituencies like Shrewsbury. There are serious, not just disagreements, I think we've gone beyond disagreements in terms between candidates and all that kind of stuff. So from a leadership point of view, and I think one of the quotes that I remember is that one of the great leadership experts says that anyone can steer a ship, but it takes a captain to set the course. And that is what this election is all about, having a captain at the helm of this government to set that course, to navigate these turbulent waters, particularly COVID and other challenges. And we can see in the governance and leadership of the United Workers' Party, headed by Prime Minister Alan Shasley, that you have that kind of leader, you have that kind of captain who can steer the ship of state in the right direction.
Yeah. Well, there's another saying that suggests that when you want to see the true measure of a man, it's not in times of adversity, but in times when he would have received power. And what I've been able to see is that Prime Minister Alan Chasney is an absolute selfless servant leader that believes in serving this country. And what I have seen from him and learned from him is a degree of public service and the importance of public service. I mean, let's think about it. Let's be real. He doesn't have to do any of this. And so, therefore, I believe when I travel with him, I see his pulse and feel he's fascinated and consumed by taking St. Lucia to the next level. And that's why I'm doing this as a young person. That's why I'm part of the United Workers' Party, because of that level of zeal, enthusiasm, the vision. I mean, we were in Parliament, we stayed there an hour just talking about how we're going to recover. And who was leading the conversation? Everyone else, the last person to leave was the Prime Minister. And so it shows you his level of interest and passion and determination to get us out of this hole and take this country forward. We tend not to be distracted by what the opposition is going through with their own problems. What is important, Ricky, is to bring into focus what we are going to do to bring this country back, put our workers back to work, put businesses back in business, and really to rebuild this economy and to ensure that St. Lucia gets back to a state of preparedness, a state of repair. And there's some good news. We're seeing that in our main sector, the hotels are already reporting significant bookings. As early as April, some hotels are at 60%. In May, some are reporting 80% occupancies. There is just a whole pent-up demand that is for travel and tourism all over the world. And so therefore, we do not have the luxury of saying to ourselves, one of the most attractive tourism destinations in the world, that this is not the time for us to do tourism. I think that the protocols have shown us that we can do it, and the protocols have shown us that we can do this safely. There's so much more that we know now than when the pandemic started. So when you look at what's happening with flights, you've got American Airlines have just announced that they're going to resume service out of JFK after about 30 years of not coming to St. Lucia from that gateway. You've got American Airlines announcing as well, for the first time in the history of tourism, a flight between Dallas, Texas, and St. Lucia. American Airlines as well announcing for the first time in history that they will have a flight out of Philadelphia coming in the summer. This flight would normally operate in the season of winter to April, so it would end about March, April, thereabouts, starting from about November. And then as well, JetBlue announcing that they are going to start flying to St. Lucia for the first time in history from Newark, New Jersey. All of these things are happening, Ricky, not by accident. We are way ahead of a number of Caribbean countries as far as reopening our borders and reopening tourism and getting our people back to work. We are doing this for one reason and one reason only. We're doing this because of our taxi drivers. We're doing this because of our farmers. We're doing this because of our waitresses. We're doing this, Ricky, these waitresses in some instances are single mothers who are the only breadwinners in those families. We have to get this country back to work. It is important. And so it's not a time.
That's the hallmark of a caring government.
Mm-hmm. It's not a time for foolish discussions about or uninformed, unscientific positions that will scare up the people of St. Lucia. There is no evidence to suggest that there is any outbreak caused by tourists to this country. The Ministry of Health, they have done an analysis to see the impact of tourism on COVID-19 on St. Lucia. And in the history of the pandemic, after 4,000 cases, we've only had 38 tourists testing positive. On the way out in the month of January, the last figures I saw, 1,550 tourists were tested and 8 were positive. So it shows you, Ricky, as well, that we opened our borders in July, and we had rigorous protocols. They are tested. Now vaccination is becoming a requirement, which gives us an extra layer of protection. And so if we miss the science, we're going to miss the boat. We will bring about additional pain to our people. We will bring about more hardship. We will send too many children to bed without a meal. And this is about people. This is about our workers. This is about vendors in the craft market who have not worked. This is about taxi drivers who have not moved a penny. This is about farmers who have had their markets dried up and disappear. And so let's not lose focus. This is about us. This is about taking our country forward. And really, we cannot afford to make blanket assumptions.
Listeners, hold on, listeners. Listeners, we are on to Constituency Vibes, 93.1 FM. And of course, we bringing you the information, we enlightening you as to the government's program and its activities. And my guest tonight, the Honorable Herod Stanislas, Member of Parliament for Soufrière Fonsajac, and Honorable Dominic Fede, Member of Parliament for Canneries Ancillary. Minister.
Yeah, Dom is very right, Ricky. We have to prepare this country to get back on its feet again. We have to open up this economy. And to do so, we have to be able to coexist with COVID. We cannot allow COVID to dictate how this government, how this country moves. Lives, protecting lives is a priority number one. But at the same time, you have to balance it with protecting livelihoods. Because we have a lot of persons suffering. And if you take Soufrière, for example, yes, we have many hotels, and Soufrière was very lucky that many of the hotels that was first opened on the island was in the Soufrière Basin. They're still open, but they still have not been able to absorb the number of staff which they had pre-COVID. And therefore, you find that there are many persons who are still at home in the hotel sector, unemployed, and those who are currently employed, they are on a rotation basis. So it means that they bring in less at the end of the fortnight or at the end of the month. So there's less disposable income into the families, and therefore that significantly impacts their standard of living and opportunities for themselves and their families. It also has a trickle-down effect to other sectors in the economy, not only in the St. Lucian economy, but in the local economy in Soufrière. Persons who maybe used to go to the barber shop twice a week or twice a fortnight, they may be able to go to the barber shop once a month, to the hairdresser, to the bar, to the restaurant, out socializing, you know. So it is very, very critical that we open up this economy, open up the country, coexist with COVID, and get the economy going again. And the only way to do so, Ricky, is to take heed of the measures of hand sanitizing, practicing social distancing, you know, and very critical to get the vaccine. We've rolled out the vaccine. We have vaccination sites throughout the length and breadth of the country, and we're urging people the vaccine is effective, it is safe, science is there, it has been proven. Go out and get the vaccine so that we can have some semblance of normalcy in the country and be able to move on.
Nous avons tout ça qui a coûté nous. Ça c'est programme là nous avons mené information sur ça gouvernement a fait. Nous avons fait ça gouvernement a travaillé gouvernement dédié pour faire assurer en temps ça là en temps Covid là tant les bagages difficiles nous ça still faire assurer nous manager pays à la manière côté nous amener plus employement by monde et puis faire assurer nous vivre et puis Covid là pas coûter cher pas coûter ça au attendre notre side là après nous pour just buy mon l'argent that kind of handout mentality. This is not the approach of the United Workers' Party. It's not the approach of this government. It's about teaching you to fish instead of just giving you a fish. And of course, using creative, talented, skillful, ingenious means of ensuring that we keep this economy going. And of course, we must applaud the hard, dedicated team headed by Prime Minister Alan Shastney for the vision, for the foresight, for the fortitude, for the tireless efforts in putting St. Lucians first. This is what it's about. You hear this government and you hear the compassion, you hear the caring of ensuring that we address the issues and we put St. Lucians first in that regard, because that's the government with the vision, that's the government with the kind of programs and policies to ensure that St. Lucia, we get ahead as one of the leading countries in the OECS. And of course, even from the agricultural point of view, I mean, the bananas, we are the only one in the OECS islands actually producing bananas at this moment, you understand? Carrying that weight, so to speak, to shoulder that responsibility. And farmers, I know the government has done a lot for farmers in terms of in your own constituency, Minister, you have impacted with the farmers. Care to share some of that?
Oh, definitely. I mean, the farmer, you know, Soufrière from St. Jacques is not only a tourism-based constituency, but also a farming constituency. It's said to be the mecca of tourism, and at the same time, the breadbasket of St. Lucia. And the farmers from St. Jacques, in Boisden, in Belfond, Espérance, Zenon, Chateau-Belle, Bouton, Fort Jean-Libre, all over Soufrière, they are impacted severely as a result of COVID, because the local population is just not sufficient to absorb, to take in all the produce that the farmers have out there. And that is why you need the tourism. The tourism needs to go hand in hand with agriculture. The agriculture will not survive without tourism. Okay? So the farmers in Soufrière are suffering. I mean, they're getting by, but not in the manner they did pre-COVID. And that is why it is so important that we get tourism back in the country. Dom said earlier, our GDP contracted by almost 20%, which is about $1.1 billion. And most of this money is tourism related. This $1.1 billion is as a result of the decline in tourism. And that decline is due to COVID-19. Because our main source markets of the UK, Canada, and the US have suffered tremendously from COVID-19. And persons are not able to travel, lockdowns. We've had lockdowns, partial lockdowns here. We've had measures, and you know, some of the visitors, they are not amenable to those measures, and they're not traveling and so on. So we need to follow the protocols, get vaccinated, to get the country back to normalcy, so that we can now bring back the tourists to this country, so that our farmers in Soufrière, our farmers in Fort St. Jacques will be able to sell more to the hotels, more to the supermarket, more at the markets and so on, so that they can benefit more from farming and the outcome of it.
Now, we have a dual situation. We have a health crisis, we have an economic crisis.
I have an agricultural constituency as well. Yes. So I want to big up my farmers, because Herod has represented them really well. But we do a lot of bananas down in the Roseau Valley. But I really want to say, Ricky, that had it not been for the hardworking farmers of this country, that the fallout of the rural economy would have been greater. And, you know, a lot of the farmers that are able to withstand the pressures of globalization today, I think we have to salute them. It is a tribute to them that we are still in bananas. And it's because they're really good farmers. And I really want to commend both the farmers in ancillary canneries, the farmers in Soufrière, Fort St. Jacques, and all the farmers of St. Lucia who are carrying this economy. And really, they have made our transition from agriculture to tourism economy that much easier. And we tend to forget that, and we don't give them enough credit for what they have done. And I think that there's going to be a new era of farming that's going to be informed by technology and a new level of farming that can come back in a real positive way. And we look forward. I think we are young enough to witness it, and we want to see this go forward in our country. And so, never mind that I'm the Minister of Tourism, I do appreciate deeply the importance of agriculture to our economy and the role it plays in employing a lot of rural women, especially in my constituency, On a harvesting day, an average farmer may need about 6 individuals. And so the spin-offs are tremendous. And I just want to salute all the farmers of the country.
And if I may add, Ricky, I
Go
would
ahead,
just like
Minister.
to commend the many young persons in my constituency of Sofra from St. Jacques, as well as in Ancillary Canaries, and by extension, Choiseul. I'm in the West Coast. They have done a phenomenal job since COVID in going into agriculture, going into their own individual and private farms at home, and so on. And what comes out of those home farms, they've been able to survive on that. They've been able to go around in the vehicles and so on, go to the market, go to different areas on the roadside and sell their local produce. Some of them have been able to use those fruits and create, little fruit, not baskets, but fruit bowls and plates and so on. And they go out there, they sell, they retail to shops, to individual homes and so on. They've been able to stay afloat by just doing that, by just going into agriculture and seeing and understanding that agriculture is an avenue for job creation, for survival, for opportunities. So I want to commend the many young persons in my constituency and by extension Ancillary Canaries and Choiseul for this effort.
There is certainly a renewed interest in agriculture as a result of COVID. And it is an interest that our government does not intend to waste. We want to use it. And they say that from every bad crisis comes a good situation. And this is one of the things, I think this is the interest that we've been looking for that have been provoked by COVID-19. And I think you will see a lot of younger people getting into farming, which really then secures the future of the agricultural industry.
Before we go into the constituency and some of the things that are happening, the COVID crisis brings about a dual crisis of health crisis and economic crisis. In the health sector, the government has been able to, we have the respiratory hospital, we have the OKE, we have St. Jude's and the rest. So tremendous resources and efforts have been pumped into the health sector to ensure that we have a health sector that can accommodate that, the health situation that we have in there. As chairman of the COVID Center, explain to St. Lucians the strategy, the approach, what the government has been doing to ensure that we improve the health sector.
So the Owen King EU lab has actually crushed the backlog of cases that we would have had. So now, combined with the mobilization of the forensic lab, we have now been able to institute a testing capacity of over 1,000 daily tests. In some cases, people are getting their results back in less than 24 hours. And that is within the last 2 weeks we've been able to do that. The number of positive cases are down to 158 is the last number I saw. The recovery rate is very high. 99% of our COVID patients have recovered. The 55 that have died, a significant portion, 99%, are from underlying conditions. And what it really has exposed, Ricky, is a chronic health situation that we've had in this country, one where we have one of the highest diabetes rates in the Caribbean. And so now I think that situation that is us has not proven to work well for COVID. But I do not want to undermine the importance of those individuals that have died. But I believe that we need to be scientific about what is taking place, and we have to learn the lessons from COVID, and we have to be informed by the data. But when we get over this pandemic, and even before I get to the legacy or the aftermath of COVID, it's very important to share with your viewers that the Ministry of Health today published statistics that suggested that some 19,263 St. Lucians have received their first dose of the vaccine. And that is phenomenal. That's over 10% of your population. So just within weeks of them starting the campaign in various communities island-wide, in reaching out to the most vulnerable individuals. So you've got your people with underlying conditions, people over age 60, and so on, frontliners, including police officers, nurses, doctors, and all the other workers of this country that are on the front line. It is just magnificent news. I know that this week they would have started going to various homes. So people who are bedridden, they go to them and actually do the vaccination there, because a lot of those individuals will have underlying conditions, but they're not able to go to the COVID vaccination sites. So we're actually bringing the service to these homes. I don't have a report on how many numbers that they have done so far with people who are bedridden, but I promise I can get it to you by tomorrow so that you can share with your viewers on the next show. But we're making significant headway on the health sector side. And in addition to that, the improved healthcare at Owen King EU to open a hospital that was going to cost this country an extra $68 million was the figure I heard the last time we had this discussion. Is miraculous to be able to do this when you would have lost $279 million in government revenue. And so you have to say that the man who is the Minister of Finance is an absolute genius. Because how can you possibly do it? And we have done all of this quietly, and we just smile at the criticism because it is not normal times. It is very, very difficult, but we're not complaining.
And not only that, OKEU is opened at that cost, but you now have Victoria as the respiratory hospital operating alongside OKEU. And Victoria is probably staffed with the exact same number of personnel that the respiratory clinic is staffed with, that same number of personnel that the old VH used to be staffed with. So you're looking at about $30 to $35 million extra just to keep VH as a respiratory hospital open. And added to this, you have all the additional expenses of quarantine, paying for the facilities for our not only for our returning nationals who are coming back to the island, but persons who have tested positive for COVID, persons who are in both sometimes isolation and quarantine. That bill is being footed by the government. You have the Cubans who are still on island, some of them. Government is footing that bill. Government is also footing the bill of all the testing kits, all the reagents, all the overtime that has been put into the labs. These are additional costs. PPE equipment that has been purchased. That government, I mean, health right now is probably the highest expenditure that government is undertaking in the country as a result of COVID. And it is a lot of monies which we do not have at the moment. And earlier, Ricky, you said something about United Workers' Party is not about putting money in people's hands, teach people to fish. Really and truly, Ricky, we do not have the money as a government to say we can just give people monies every week, every fortnight, every month.
And that's not sustainable.
It is not sustainable because our revenue has dropped by about $279 million. You borrowed just a little over $200 million since the pandemic. So you still have a shortfall, but your expenses have increased tremendously as a result of COVID. And you still have your debt to pay. You have, the government is still operating, it's as if nothing is wrong. There's no COVID. Salaries have been paid. Your debt obligation, the national debt has been paid. Operating and maintenance of government, is been taken care of. Payables, you take care of payables, but not as much as you would like. As over the past months, payables have been increasing significantly. Unfortunately, you cannot meet all your demands for payables, but every month you try as best as possible, as much as you can, to meet your payables. And compounding that again, Ricky, you have what you call short-term debt that is due every month. And this coming financial year, we have about $700 million in short-term debt that is due. And we were hoping that we could roll over some of those debt, at least 25% of those debt, to give us a little breathing space. If we are not able to roll out this $700 million of short-term debt, problems. So we just do not have the money that the opposition is making people believe that is there in the coffers in the consolidated fund to just put in the hands of the people. And this is why this prime minister, this cabinet of ministers, this government is practicing prudent fiscal policies in managing the monies that we have in order so that the country could move in the direction we wanted to move in a sustainable manner, so that when we get through with this COVID crisis, we'll have been in a better position to ride the waves, Ricky.
Go ahead, Mr.
And I was saying what's funny and disingenuous at the same time is the fact that the St. Lucia Labour Party continues to say, well, take the money and give it to people. But some of the same monies that we're using now are monies that they would have negotiated, but they didn't have the efficiency to implement those projects. I'll give you an example. The West Coast Road Project. This is from the UK DFID funds, the Department of International Development in the United Kingdom. It's equivalent to US aid and CEDA from Canada. So basically, the Labour Party was going to do a road from Babonneau to Dennery with that money.
From Bossejou to Dennery.
From Bossejou to Dennery, sorry. And so what we did is that we believe at this time that it is better to do the road from the Millennium Highway through to Cul-de-Sac and along the west coast all the way to Soufrière. And it was road, but for you to go to the UK government and to say, well, can I take this money that you have pledged to me that has been given under the Caribbean Development Bank to be able to preside over the management of this money? It's near impossible. COVID will come and go, and you'll still be talking to them. I mean, and that's how these agencies work. A lot of countries are now preoccupied with their domestic situation. And, you know, the CDB, the administrative process, unfortunately, is not one that happens overnight at the snap of your fingers. So it is a really, really, really difficult time. And I think that they have to give people more accurate information so that the people can make up their own minds as to where we're at. And, you know, don't devalue the roads that are happening. In my constituency, one of the first projects I did was a road in Munda. And in Munda, what happens is that the people in that part of Munda would have to leave their homes with 2 pairs of shoes because they have to walk through a dirt track to get to the public road in order to get a bus. So obviously, you know, the ladies will not want to get to town in their muddy shoes. So they carry 2 pairs of shoes, leave a plastic bag with another pair by the roadside when they return from the city. And so in 2021, we shouldn't have to have people go through that. Think
Absolutely.
of people who are living in private developments, and very often broken promises by a developer who say that he was going to fix the road and he doesn't fix the road. These people also need help, and they're getting help from our road programs. Think of, you know, single mothers who are walking up mountainous areas, very hilly areas, with grocery shopping. And because bus drivers have refused to serve some of these routes because of the damage that it caused to the vehicle, you have to repair those roads in the interest of those single mothers. And as well, Ricky, don't forget the construction worker who is now working on that site that would not otherwise existed. It means that if you close the construction site, he doesn't get paid. Unlike him, the members of parliament, all the opposition ministers who are saying, close the construction sites, they get paid every single month 100% of their salary. And they have not given anything to anyone. So therefore, what we must do is we have to make sure that there's opportunity for everyone. And the construction industry was a good way of us saying to ourselves that we're going to stimulate this economy at a time when construction workers were laying idle.
And added to that, while the opposition is really knocking the construction, we need the roads. You still have to have the roads. It's an important part of infrastructure. But more critically, the World Bank, IMF, all on the international development economists are actually saying that infrastructure development is critical, particularly for developing countries, to be able to find a way out of the COVID environment, to generate employment and to keep the economies going as well.
Yeah, and not only that, with all what Dom has said of all the critical reasons why we have to undertake the road construction to stimulate the economies and jobs and so on, and persons who have had to use two pairs of shoes and so on. But when roads are put in place in communities, whether it's rural or urban and so on, it automatically increases the value of property. So persons' properties, persons' homes, land, the value increases immediately. And that is another source of collateral security that persons can use to help create opportunities for themselves and their families. So the roads are very, very critical, and it's a very good stimulant for the economy to create employment and to get persons out there to earn a decent living.
But it's not just roads, it's community centers that have been languishing. I mean, I just finished one that was closed in Millet for 11 years. It's playing fields that need attention to celebrate the wonderful works that the sportsmen of this country have done. It's human resource centers, health centers.
Health centers, critical.
Yeah, critical.
You know,
So
these are the construction projects we are undertaking. All of what we're doing in terms of construction in roads and all of what Dominic is articulating is all about people. It's people-centric. The people of St. Lucia, the people of Soufrière-Fonsajac, the people of Historic-and-Ritz, Choiseul, of Micoud, of Grosily, they are the ones benefiting from it. Absolutely. It's nobody else. It's the people of St. Lucia who are the beneficiary of all the construction which is taking place around us.
But you know, this approach to stimulating the economy is a very old one. I mean, think of the Great Depression. What did FDR do? You know, came in, he built the Hoover Dam, railroads, roads, a lot of other public infrastructure projects, bridges that you and I know today, that we drive across when we go to New York. All those came as a result of the Great Depression in an effort to stimulate the economy. So it's really nothing new.
It's nothing new. In 2008, after the financial crisis, when Barack Obama came into office, trillions of dollars were spent to stimulate the U.S. economy. Into what? Infrastructure. Railways, bridges, roads, you know, tunnels. That is it. In the UK, it is happening in the UK. Billions of dollars.
All over, indeed.
You know, to stimulate the economy into construction.
But we've also been very concerned about small businesses as well. So if you would have looked at what we've done, and if your listeners are listening, they can actually go to the Development Bank and check there's a grant and loan component with a recovery program that we're doing. It's already being processed. I know that a lot of people have applied, and they can get as much as $20,000 in grants from the Development Bank. So this is about 20-something million we've made available.
I think it's about 24 million, something like that.
Yeah, to put there for small businesses. So if you're a small business person, you're listening, this really is a good program for you. We are encouraging people to go thrust ahead, invest in Airbnb. We're bringing legislation to Parliament to have the best legal environment for village tourism, and also for people to get involved in tourism businesses. And we're going to make that so easy. For the first time in the history of this country, our local people will be getting incentives in tourism. The Labour Party presided over a very discriminatory legislative system where you had to have 6 bedrooms. So if you're a small guy and you can't afford to build 6 bedrooms and you have a little 2-bedroom apartment below your house and you want to get into tourism. Now we're saying that you can get a tax break. Now you can get concessions. You can bring in the TVs and the beds
The
and
fixtures, appliances, equipment.
duty free.
Duty free.
That's wonderful, wonderful. Listeners, you're listening to Constituency Vibe 93.1 FM and through GDV TV on Facebook as well on Flow channel 115. And of course, we are right here at our studios. Our guest this evening, Honorable Dominic Fede, Member of Parliament for Ancillary Canaries, Honorable Harold Stanislas, Member of Parliament for Soufrière Fonsajac. And this is where we enlighten you, we give you the information, we let you know what your government is doing and how your government is working in your interests. And you can see throughout the length and breadth of St. Lucia what is happening. Gentlemen, let us get dug into the constituencies, and so that people are aware what is happening, what has been done, and of course, and that's important because somebody might stay in Grosley and not necessarily know what is happening all over the place. So it's important that in a collective way, people get to know what the government is doing, the various things in the community. Minister Fede, we start with you. Ancillary Canaries, beautiful part of the West Coast going down. And of course, since 2016, you came in. You've been able to transform, the lives of your residents and constituents in a meaningful and impacting way. So share with us and the country at large some of the initiatives and programs that you have undertaken.
Ricky, I must tell you that every day I wake up, I thank God for the opportunity to have the honor of serving ancillary canaries. Public service is something that my family, we take very, very seriously. And, my dad, who's deceased, and my mother, they have sort of injected this in us to really always do your best for country. But the long and short of it is that when I assumed the constituency, the Jack Mill Field was a swamp. The Derrendo Community Center was closed for 11 years. Bats and rats lived inside of it. The Munda to Roseau to Vanner Road was a pothole where minibus drivers didn't go through it because of the untold damage it was causing on their vehicle. And so we quickly had to move into action. I'm happy that we've completed the Roseau to Vanner Road, and we're now going to start the Vanner to Techimere Road. We have fixed the Jack Mill playing field, which really is one of the best playing fields now in our country. And really it's a celebration of all of the accomplishments of all the great sportsmen in the Roseau Valley area. We have built a new preschool in Jack Mill. We've fixed the Blackstone Road as well. We've fixed the Cemetery Road by the Jack Mill Catholic Church so that people who are patrons to funerals don't have to worry about their high heels being stuck in the mud. We have done a phenomenal amount of work. The Vanner playing field as well has also had a significant upgrade. Some of the best cricketers in this country have come from Millet, and they have played on the Vanner playing field. But what's unfortunate is that they couldn't distinguish between what was the field and the nearby plantation because the grass was so high, the surface was rough, the drainage was bad, and we've now fixed all of that through our various programs. And really, when you think of Aline Donovan, you think of Johnson Charles, you think of Xavier and Esau Gabriel, and you think of the Prosper brothers. They had about 3 national cricketers coming from that family in Aline, Cameron, and also Alvin. They're phenomenal cricketers, but yet they had the worst playing field in St. Lucia. And I'm very happy that we have been able to upgrade that field to a substantial standard. We're about to light the Jack Mill field. And I think most of all, the biggest thing that's happening in the constituency would be down in Ancillary. I think this has been a neglected village for a very long time. Politicians come in, they win the seat, and they don't invest in the long-term development of the people in that constituency. Ricky, I always tell myself that if I'm going to be in politics like some people for 25 years, and my constituency remains the same, then I would have been a complete failure. But down in Ancillary, we have just completed or near completion of a health center, state-of-the-art health and wellness center due to open up. We're also doing the drain around the field. Numerous contractors are bidding on that project, and a contract should be awarded next week, I'm told, so that we can see the commencement of construction on this drain that is unsightly and that has been a source of bother for many families in Ancillary. I think importantly as well is that Ancillary always needed an economy. And so, therefore, I'm very happy that we got the support from our government. And, you know, many years ago, we sat down and we reorganized the usage of the cooperation agreement funds from the Taiwanese. And we said that, listen, this is an opportunity for us to really sustainably develop our country. And so we looked at sports, we looked at village tourism, and we also, there was another category, I think farming was the other one. And because of the rich tourism assets which we have in places like Soufrière and Grosley and Ancillary and Canaries, we began with those villages first. And I'm happy, I know Herod has a whole lot in Soufrière to tell you about. And so for my little village, Ancillary, we've already started changing the facade of the homes on the main street. When you drive through, it's a nice feel, it's colorful. We've just redone the mural. The foundation is being worked on a mini hotel in the location of the old police station. There's a private family across the square that has a colonial looking house. They have been encouraged and are very much interested in opening up their facility as a bed and breakfast as well. And I think they're about to do 9 or 10 bedrooms. That means that we would have a total of about 20 rooms within the same location. We're discussing the upgrading of the ferry, and we're talking as well to the ferry operators, so that what you do have is people from Martinique and the French Antilles being able to go to Ancillary like they can go to Grosley and have the same access that they do to Castries, so that you have a market, you have a sustainable way of developing the constituency. The fish fry building is being bidded on as well for a complete overhaul, and the contract will be awarded next week. The old community center building has been demolished, and construction works are about to start to build a nice seafood restaurant on the bayfront. We're doing facade improvement works on the houses, on the waterfront as well, to improve the general ambience of the waterfront, so that when you come into the Bay of Ancillary, where we will put 20 moorings for yachtsmen, what that is going to do is going to completely change this village that has had potential screaming out for someone to come and say, invest in me, improve me, train my people, and take them to the next level. And this is fundamentally what we've done. Ricky, I speak to you and I'm very emotional tonight because I'm so happy. I believe that is not the handout politics. It's not about $20 and giving people money. It's about investing in them, their communities, their resources, and making them an international people. And that's what this project is about. Now, in Canaries as well, we're doing a phenomenal project to rehabilitate the waterfront as well. And there, we were able to tap our OECS tourism competitive project. And we're going to improve the beach because Herod has got too many tourists in Soufrière. And the hotels in Soufrière are crying that they don't want the cruise ship passengers. So when we get back to cruising at a maximum level, we will have to help Herod with the capacity. So we're now putting in place
forward planning,
the infrastructure, so that when the cruise ship comes back, I mean, we're at 800,000 last year, and if we can go to 1 million, 2 million cruise ship passengers easily, and that will make Soufrière tilt over or capsize. So what we need to do is when they go to the volcano or they go to the pitons, we have to now have something on the way back for them to swim, for them to have lunch, for them to bathe, for them to enjoy themselves, go for a snorkel. And we are reorganizing the Canaries Bayfront to be able to do that, to put in the facilities, so that what we are doing in this government is leaving no constituency behind. And I look forward to, after the elections, after we win the elections, is for us to come back and continue all the good work we've started, get our people into businesses, get our people into gainful employment. There's going to be the need for me to implement a transportation system to be able to link these deserted parts or inaccessible parts of the country to the economic centers of St. Lucia. All these jobs in Vieux-Fort, for example, there's no bus route from Canaries to Vieux-Fort. You have to go into Castries and then take another bus from there. So it makes it extremely difficult. It is now to reorganize the systems that we have in place to ensure that our people can be better connected to the centers of economic opportunity. I'm fired up by it, and we're looking forward to it. It inspires us. And, you know, the budget that we've just done, there's so much hope for my constituency, for the farmers in those areas. I mean, I noticed that there are 29 million in new monies that the Ministry of Agriculture will spend on various agriculture development programs. I look forward to working with my farmers for us to take agriculture to a next level, to ensure that they too can get the support that they require. Our fishermen in the two villages, we have some very exciting plans for them as well, to be able to improve their livelihoods and improve their lives. We want to create a better situation for our fishermen in Canaries. There's no ice house. So when there's a very heavy catch, it becomes extremely difficult to store the fish. So we're working this out, and we want to make sure that no constituency is left behind. Roseau is another important village. We've done the laundry there. In the Roseau community, we've done training with a number of young people to be able to get them jobs into tourism and other areas of the economy. We've had several young people from Canaries went down to the call centers in Vieux-Fort, both at Ojo Labs and ITEL BPO, so that they too can be part of what's taking place. The renaissance that's taking place in Vieux-Fort is an incredible economic renaissance for St. Lucia to witness. And we're just on the cusp of becoming a great small country. This is not the time for us to experiment with leadership and with the direction in which this country should go.
Now, Minister Stanislas, of course, through the work of the government, through its coordinated approach, through its strategic approach, through its visionary leadership headed by Prime Minister Alan Chasney, Minister of Finance, we have seen transformation in Anstory, in Canaries, in Grosley, Mico North, Mico South, throughout the length and breadth of St. Lucia, all across St. Lucia. And of course, Soufrière is part of that transformation of what we see. You were elected in 2016. You had 10 or 20-year period of a lull in terms of activity happening in Soufrière. You have been able to bring a new light, new hope, new enlightenment to Soufrière. Share with our listeners what it is.
Well, let me first of all, Ricky, thank the people of Soufrière Fond Saint-Jacques for giving me the opportunity on June the 6th, 2016 to be the parliamentary representative and represent the interest in the Parliament of St. Lucia and, of course, in the government of the United Workers' Party. This is a job that I take very, very seriously, and every single day I am even more committed, more dedicated to working for the people of Soufrière Fond Saint-Jacques. You know, when we inherited the constituency in 2016, we inherited a neglected constituency from the Labour Party of 20 years of representation of Labour Party, Ricky. And there was so much to be done, and there is still so much to be done in Soufrière. But we are happy that through the leadership of the Prime Minister, through the support of the Prime Minister as Minister of Finance, and through colleagues like Dom and the rest of the cabinet of ministers, we've been able to achieve what we have achieved in Soufrière so far. You know, when you look at the Hummingbird, this was a project which was conceptualized in 2010 into 2011 by the United Workers' Party. At that time, the current Prime Minister, he was the candidate vying to become the parliamentary rep in Soufrière. And unfortunately, we lose that election in 2011, and the rep, our predecessor, did nothing to continue this project. This is a project which is critical. It was a very important project for the socio-economic development of Soufrière, especially that part of the constituency at Hummingbird Beach, which brings tremendous benefits to the people of Fontbernier, Palmiste, the rest of the town, and also the Barons Drive area, the water taxi operators who are mainly from the Barons Drive area. This is a project which created major employment in the construction phases, and of course quite a lot of sustainable jobs pre-COVID at the Hummingbird Beach Park. This is a place that locals and visitors and persons from other parts of the island love to come to congregate, to socialize, and to have a sea bath, etc. If you look at the Old Trafford complex, these are plans that we sold to the people prior to the election of 2016. Because coming into the election, Ricky, we had a comprehensive, holistic development plan for the constituency. Because we know the constituency had been neglected for so long that there was major interventions to be done to be able to transform Soufrière so that Soufrière could meet its potential. And therefore, Old Trafford was one of those areas that we felt was very critical, for the development of the constituency. Because Old Trafford, we said, must encompass the many sectors of tourism, transportation, agriculture, manufacturing, small business. And this is exactly what Old Trafford have become. You have the farmers market. I mean, for all those years, decades, our farmers have to toil the land in the elements every single day. But when they come down to town, whether it's a weekday or on a Saturday, which is the main day for market, they still have to be sitting or standing in the elements to try to make a dollar. And we said, no, this is unfair. A compassionate representative, a compassionate government will not put his or her constituents through this kind of situation. And therefore, a market, a farmer's market, a vendor's market was a critical component of that vision, that plan for Old Trafford. And of course, we had the buses scattered all over the town, at different locations and traffic congestion. Some of them were located next to the church. The priest at the time, they had issues with drivers and persons urinating next to the church and the stench and all of that. So we felt it is critical that you put all those buses in one central location, and therefore it would have been much easier for persons to access the buses, to move around to the different routes that are serviced by the buses there. It is also an opportunity that was created for small business, for young entrepreneurs. We have 2 or 3 vending booths in that area there, where you have 2 snackets and you have a restaurant. In the second phase of Old Trafford, you are going to have additional vending booths built. And again, I want to thank Minister Fidi, for assisting in the second phase of Old Trafford through the OECS Tourism Competitive project. We are going to be getting the funds to build those 2 other buildings to create opportunities again for our young people to become entrepreneurs in Soufrière and Font Saint-Jacques. When you look at the Sulphur Springs, we had only 1 pool at the Sulphur Springs, and it was chaos, congestion at the place every time you had tourists, especially in the high season when you had 2 free cruise ships, plus you have persons from the hotels coming to the park. You had visitors who would come, and because of the length of the line, the waiting line, they would just turn their backs and go back to the hotel, go back to the ship, and so on, because they couldn't get access into the pool to get a mud bath.
And of course, it impacted the revenue.
It impacted the revenue. What did we do? Soufrière Foundation, we went ahead and we built 3 additional pools. So we have 4 pools right now. And all the congestion, all the complaints, all the long lines are done. The revenue have increased, and foundation is able to was able to employ more people, and also at the same time have more monies, more revenue to circulate in the local economy in Soufrière. As you know, the Soufrière Foundation does a lot in Soufrière in terms of scholarships, donations, infrastructure, just name it. Soufrière Foundation plays a very critical role in the economic development, socio-economic development of the constituency. When you look at the field, the mini stadium, the grounds there was in the dilapidated condition. What did we do? We came with a national sports infrastructure program, because what we're saying is that we have talented, skillful young persons in Soufrière Saint-Jacques, in St. Lucia, on the West Coast, Canries, Ancillary, Choiseul, but we do not have the infrastructure so that those young people could put their talent, put their skills into use, into practice. And therefore, you need a world-class facility where you're going to be putting in the right programs, the right training programs, so that those young persons now could, so that you could harness the talents and the skills of those young persons to give them opportunities, not only locally and regionally, but on the international stage. So we have completed an international FIFA-certified full-size football turf. We have completed an 8-lane 400-meter Olympic, IAAF Olympic track. That is the only one on the west coast of St. Lucia, which not only benefits Soufrière Saint-Jacques, but Canries, Ancillary, and Choiseul, and the rest of St. Lucia. You know? And this augurs extremely, extremely well for youth and sports development in Soufrière Saint-Jacques. When we came into office, Ricky, we inherited the construction of the town square, which started under my predecessor. But when we took a walk into the square to see for ourselves what was happening, we realized that the construction and the design, the concepts and so on, was being done in a haphazard manner, and therefore we put a hold on the project in order to review, redesign, and the whole plan of the square. And look at what the square is today. It has turned out to be one of the most beautiful green spaces, open square that we have in St. Lucia. It's a model for all other constituencies to be able to design and build a square like this in their own constituency. The waterfront.
Even the city square has been opened up.
Exactly, exactly. The Soufrière waterfront. We have a master development plan for the waterfront, all part of our village tourism concept. And currently, we have just completed a cafe, the construction of a cafe on the waterfront in Soufrière. All of that is part of the value added to the tourism product of Soufrière, because there's so much that we have to offer. We have plans to build another 2 of those cafes right there on the waterfront. Again, to add value to the tourism product, but to create opportunities for the young persons of Soufrière to come into the tourism business. There is room. There is room for everyone. There's room for young persons to become entrepreneurs, to become managers, to become owners, to become employees in this sector, and just to give them that opportunity by putting the infrastructure in place. So it's all people-centric, Ricky. Currently, we are undertaking the construction of the vending plazas, the vending booths on the Palmis Road. And again, this is another village tourism project to create opportunities for young persons, for new entrepreneurs to take advantage of the tourism product, which is available in Soufrière. I mean, now that we are going through COVID, the opportunities pre-COVID is not available at the moment. But we are going to get over COVID, and post-COVID, we are going to have an influx. I'm certain of that. St. Lucia is a well-sought-after destination, and we are going to have an influx of tourists coming to St. Lucia. And you know that over 80%, almost 90% of visitors coming to St. Lucia, they come to Soufrière. So there is going to be opportunities for persons who are going to be renting or leasing out those shops on the Palmis road. We have the new development roads. Again, a community which was neglected by the Labour Party for 20 years. Why? Same thing that Dom said earlier. They believe that new development was done, was subdivided and infrastructure put in place by a private developer who never did it up to standard or completed some of the roads. But that was done in the early 1980s, almost 40 years. And they have not done anything to the roads at new development. They had not blocked not even one pothole. It had to take this government to come into office after 20 years of their neglect, of their poor representation, for us to build new roads at new development. You know, and we have already placed concrete on a few of those roads. The road is the work is ongoing. There is new sidewalks, new drains, culverts have been built, employment has been created, less wear and tear on the residents' vehicles, and of course the value of people's property have gone up as a result of the construction of those new roads at new development. And still those roads are under construction, it's happening, and the opposition, they are still against it. That money should not have gone into the construction of those roads because it is a private developer. Again, lack of vision, lack of compassion. It is always about the Labour Party and not the people. Not what is best for the people, but what is best for the St. Lucia Labour Party. That's what it is, Ricky. We've done so much work in other parts of the constituency. We've done a lot of work in Font Saint-Jacques. I mean, there was this landslide going into the Edmonds Forest, the Abaso Trail, near Mr. Edison, which took place in 2010, Hurricane Thomas, you know, and it took me as parliamentary representative to clear this major landslide and all other landslides up to the rainforest, Edmonds Forest. We did that, I think, in 2018. And right now, it has opened up the rainforest again. Abaso Trail has been opened up. Tourists are driving up there.
And farmers in the area as
Tour
well.
guides are bringing tourists there. The people of Font Saint-Jacques are able, the forest rangers, they take people on tours, young persons in Font Saint-Jacques. You know, they're able to earn a living. The Font Saint-Jacques Development Committee is now in a process of going through some arrangement with the Forestry Department for a lease of the Abaso Trail to create even more employment for the young people of Font Saint-Jacques. All because that this landslide was cleared, the road is open so that vehicles now could traverse up and down into Abaso and the rainforest. Farmers who abandoned their property in that area since Hurricane Thomas, they have gone back to their farms, they have gone back to the lands, they've gone back to producing again. They've gone back to earning a living, to taking care of their families, all because of the clearing of the landslide, this major landslide, and the other slides in the area. Again, Ricky, all of that is for the people, to empower the people, to give them opportunities, Ricky. That's all it is about, working for the people on behalf of the people. The playing field in Font Saint-Jacques. You know the playing field, how it was in Font Saint-Jacques. There was not a playing field. It was a very hard surface with lots of rocks and pebbles. Guys, when they fall on it, they would cut their knees, you know, their legs, they would get hurt. There, what did we do? We went and we did a complete rehabilitation of the Font Saint-Jacques playing field, where we graded the field. We added a new topsoil, sand, you know, level it, roll it, grass it up, fence it, and we got a beautiful field in Font Saint-Jacques. You know, I mean, the guys have been playing on it and so on, but we need to maintain it, fertilize and so on, so that it can stay in pristine condition. By next week, we will be starting works on the field at Font Saint-Jacques to put lights on the field at Font Saint-Jacques. As a matter of fact, the lights are arriving tomorrow. Hopefully by the weekend it will be cleared, or early next week, and the contractor will be coming down to install the 2 lights on the field in Font Saint-Jacques. So for the first time in the history of Font Saint-Jacques, not only did we give them a standard class world-class small playing field, but they are getting lights on the field in Fons and Jacques. This has never happened before in the history of Fons and Jacques, with 20 years of unbroken labor representation. And you know that Fons and Jacques is an area which has been loyal to the Labour Party for 20 years. For over 20 years, they were loyal to the Labour Party. And nothing of that sort to empower, to create opportunities for the people was ever done. Because those individuals, the Labour Party, have no vision. They have no foresight. They don't care about people. They only care about themselves. They take your vote, your loyalty for granted. And when they come into office, they do nothing to create opportunities to empower the people, to build the capacity of the people. They want to keep the people down at the level that they are all the time, so that the people come to them every single week, every single month, every single time for a handout. This is not how we, the United Workers' Party, work. We create opportunities to uplift people so that they become independent and they're able to not only help themselves, but help others around them. That is the philosophy of the United Workers' Party, of my colleague and other colleagues in this cabinet.
We fight the wrong that need resistance, and we have the cause that needs assistance.
And we've done
Your favorite line.
and we've done so much other interventions in the Fons and Jacques area. And I'm very, very happy and very proud that one of the promises I made to the people of Fons and Jacques, especially the people of Esperance, that we as a party, as a government, when we get elected, that was in 2016, we would have rebuilt, we would have constructed the Esperance to Diamond Road. And about 2 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago, we started construction of this road from Esperance down to Diamond. And I'm very happy, very excited about this project, Ricky, because this is a road which was excavated, which was cut through many, many decades ago, in the 70s. This is the road which is actually on, if you open the map of St. Lucia as a tourist and you get to Soufrière, the main road on that map is the Esperance Road Diamond Road. And no attention had ever been given to that road in almost 50 years. 20 years of the Labour Party representation, nothing. Because they deliberately punished the people of Esperance because of the political affiliation, the political loyalty to the United Workers' Party. But thank God, the people believed in Harold Stanislas. They believed in Alan Shastney and the vision of the United Workers' Party. They put us in office in 2016, and today we are delivering to them a quality, world-class road, concrete road all the way from Esperance down to Diamond. This is going to open up the constituency. It's going to open up Soufrière and Fons and Jacques. You know, on the other side where we currently traverse to town, there are areas which is being undermined by the river, landslides, water, and so on. So this road is going to come at a very critical time in the event anything happens on this other side. It is also an opportunity where we will be able to create housing development in the constituency. As you know, Ricky, housing is a major problem in Soufrière. And going into my second term after the next elections, I am going to be making housing one of the very critical priorities for the development of the constituency. And there are areas in the Esperance community going into Diamond where we will be able to have some major housing schemes so that the young people of Soufrière, the young people of Esperance and Fons and Jacques will be able to own a piece of Soufrière, a piece of Fons and Jacques, a piece of Esperance, and be able to grow and develop in the constituency. I'm extremely happy as well, Ricky, that in the next maybe 2 to 3 weeks, we are going to start construction of 2 other roads in Belfort. Roads which are very critical for the socio-economic development of this community and Soufrière. This road from Belfort going into Baden, this road which passes next to Mr. Jerry, Mr. Onan, Bernard, the Calix people going into Baden, critical road. And then of course we have the Old French Road from Belfort which goes down passes by Miss Elta, Miss Morlin, Leicester at the bottom, into Hermitage, which now opens up the constituency. So imagine you're at the Sulphur Springs, you're in Rabat, you're at Hotel Chocolat, and you want to get to Soufrière, but you do not want to go back down to the Ladera area. You can actually use that old French road to Belfort, use the other one at Belfort to Boisden, Boisden down into Esperance, Esperance into Diamond, back into Soufrière. And this can become a beautiful drive for families, for tourists, for other persons from other parts of the island to just take a nice, cool drive around these communities and create opportunities. Persons would have the small bars, the small restaurants, the small grocery shops, just name it. All of it is going to empower the people, create opportunities for the people, Ricky. At Belfort and Boisden, these are two communities which have been suffering for water for years, for decades. They have a water problem. And Wasco kept on saying that the water problem there is because of storage. If they are able to get storage, they will be able to pump water on a regular basis weekly so that the people could have a more constant flow of pipe-borne water into their homes. 20 years of labor representation. They never did that. What did we do? We acquired parcels of land in the two areas so that Wasco could build a platform to place 4 tanks. So each of those areas are going to have 20,000 gallon water tanks. Wasco will be able to pump water into those tanks and provide water on a regular basis to the people of Belfort and Boisden. Boisden did not have cable, they didn't have internet. And you have students there going to school, SBAs, they have work to do, families, television, and so on. We were able to get flow to take cable and internet to Boisden just about 2 years ago. Imagine 2019, those areas did not have cable internet. The same thing we did for Chateaubelair. Chateaubelair did not have cable, didn't have internet. We were able to get flow to bring up cable internet to the people of Chateaubelair. Vital. It may sound small, it may look small, but this is vital for the everyday persons to have access to, Ricky.
Absolutely critical.
You know, and we are currently in the process of acquiring some lands in Font-Jean-Libre, because we made a promise to the people of Font-Jean-Libre that we were going to be building a community parking area, common parking in the community for them. We are still going to be doing that, and we are going to be building them a small field. We initially said it was going to be a court, but now they've said that they want a small field instead. So we are getting enough land to put that small field for them at Font-Jean-Libre, and also the remainder of the land is going to be subdivided so that the young persons from Font-Jean-Libre, from Mont-Lacroix, from Deville, and by extension, Delcé, Industry, those areas in Choiseul, will be able to own a parcel of land in this area as well. Because it's an area where we can get between 25 and 30 lots. So opportunities for the young persons of Soufrière, Font Saint-Jacques, Ricky. And there are so many other interventions, Ricky, that we have undertaken, that we are going to be undertaking in the coming weeks, and of course in the new term of office. Because I am confident that Harold Stanislas will be the first candidate to be re-elected on election night when that day comes. Because I have a track record of performance, and I believe performance matters, my relationship with the community, my humility as a candidate, as a human being, and my love and support for every single person in this constituency, whether you're red, whether you're yellow, blue, black. I am going to be re-elected with an even bigger margin and continue with the good works which we have started in Soufrière for the good people of Soufrière, Font Saint-Jacques.
Listeners, you're on to Constituency Vibes. We now open our lines, 456-0931. And of course, you can call in with your comments and sentiments and views. Remember, we want you to keep it clean and decent and follow our guidelines and ensure that you do not react or behave in a manner that is not in keeping with what we want to do. So 456-0931, that's the number to call. And calls are coming. Hello, good night. Welcome to Constituency Vibes.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Ricky.
Good evening.
And good evening to Minister Herod and Minister Fidi.
Good evening to you, sir.
Okay. I have two questions for Mr. Fidi and one for you, Mr. Herod. Okay. I am Herod from Grosile, the PRO for Grosile Constituency Branch, UWP. Okay.
Mr. Tukul himself.
Mr. Fidi.
Yes, sir.
You said that we're having some new flights, okay, and coming to our shores. This from April, the hotels are booked and stuff like that. And the other thing I want to ask you, Mr. Fidi, how did you feel with the comments that Mr. Jean-Baptiste was making during his presentation on the people who died and stuff like that? And to continue my first question, are you saying the reason why is because we did not, the government did not push away when everybody was crying, clothes for America, clothes for England, but the government just did what was right and stay focused and just obey their instincts and open up? That is your two questions. Just hold that in mind. And Mr. Herod now, your question is, what came to mind, Mr. Sonny's Cross, when the leader of the opposition said that they, even him, when that was his word during his presentation, when they win the election, it will be hard for him to raise money or to borrow money to run the affairs of St. Lucia. Let me hear you first, Mr. Fid, and then Mr. Herod.
All right.
No problem, sir.
Caller, are you going to listen off air?
No, it doesn't matter.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Well, first of all, caller, I must tell you very frankly that I don't really have too much time for the views of Musa. He's one of my least listened to politicians, so I don't really get involved with what he says. It's just politics with Musa. He can't help himself. What I want to say to you is that we've always said as a government that one death is too many, and we are always very sympathetic to the individuals that have lost loved ones. And you know me very well, caller, and today I actually incidentally celebrate the 2nd anniversary of the passing of my dad. So it's quite recent, and so my family is actually going through the exact same thing that those families who have lost their loved ones as a result of COVID, what they're going through. And I really appreciate and sympathize and empathize with them, because I know what it's like to lose a loved one, someone that you love very much and someone that you care about. So I don't think we should politicize the number of deaths that we have. I think that it's clear, based on the science, that 99% of the people that have passed away from COVID, they've had underlying conditions. The majority of these underlying conditions are diabetes. And so, therefore, it is clear that we had a chronic health situation before COVID came. And now that COVID is here, we are paying the price for having that situation. But that is not to take away the importance of the grief and the agony and the pain that those families are feeling right now. But what it is really to put into perspective what is happening. As it relates to the borders, we have looked at the science. We have had, I think to date, about 40,000 tests would have been conducted. And the Ministry of Health just finished an assessment on the impact of COVID, or the impact of the tourism sector on COVID. And they've only had 38 visitors in the history of the pandemic that have tested positive. Now, we started doing second testing of visitors on their way back to their country of origin. And what we have seen, Herod, is that out of 1,550 tests in the month of January, we only had some 8 individuals who tested positive. So you see, scientifically, there's no evidence to support what has happened. I think keeping the borders open in the interests of waiters and taxi drivers and farmers and fishermen and all the people who rely on tourism for their livelihoods is far more responsible than having a march during the pandemic. And that, to me, is reckless behavior. When you expose thousands of your supporters, thousands of St. Lucians to really the risk of contracting the virus. And when you look at what has happened in the curve and the path of the upward trend, the trajectory started 2 weeks after the march that was held sometime back in October 4th. So this is something that we've studied. And, you know, when you look at the data, you see the upward climb would have started happening 2 weeks later after the time that the Labour Party would have had that march. So we certainly believe that it did contribute significantly towards the beginning of community spread in St. Lucia. But I think that that is history, but what we want to do now is to focus on what we can do to make sure that we prevent as many people from dying in the future. As we look at the vaccination numbers, we are very encouraged that this is going to help significantly in immunizing the very vulnerable people in our population. So at least now, a lot of individuals with underlying conditions would now be vaccinated with the Ministry of Health, having done some 19,263 St. Lucians in terms of their first doses from the vaccine. So very, very good and very optimistic. I'm very positive about the future. And we are still not out of it, caller, even though we're at 158 cases. We still have to ensure that we do everything possible to protect us, protect those that we love, and really to protect our country from COVID-19.
Minister Herod.
Yeah, well, caller, all it tells you is that from the statement made by the leader of the opposition today, is that he has not even taken the exam, the test, and he has failed. And it goes back to tell us that all what we have been saying as a government, as a party, is true. He admitted it today, that in the best of times, the Labour Party could not borrow money. They could not raise money to run the operations of government, the business of government. So do you believe that in these critical times of COVID-19, in a pandemic, that they will be able to raise $1 to get the affairs of the government of St. Lucia going? And today, the statement of the leader of the opposition proved us right, that they do not have the ability, they do not have the capacity, they do not have the confidence, and international financial institutions out there have no confidence in the Labour Party to ever go out and borrow them money to run the affairs of this country. And his statement has proven us right, and this is one of the main reasons that the people of St. Lucia, the people of Grosili, the people of Soufrière, the people of Anstler-Canriz, Micoud, Choiseul, every single constituency should reject the leader of the opposition, the Labour Party, and keep them in the comfort of their seats in opposition for a very, very, very long time, caller.
Yeah, serious, because at least he's being honest, because, I mean, his predecessor, who is Dr. Anthony, could not do it. And he confessed the fact that, okay, they sent him to put his house in order, in order to get borrowed money.
That's right.
And he now, who was the deputy for Dr. Anthony, is coming now and being honest in the house.
That's right.
That every St. Lucian will hear that he does not have what it takes
Exactly.
to get any money borrowed from anybody. But, gentlemen, I believe that you all have a great show, and I never realized that you had done so much. Dom, I passed in your constituency. The last time I passed there, I see you was building a daycare or a big thing.
A health center.
A health center. Is it completed now?
Which part? Was that Jack Mill or Ancillary?
It was Jack Mill.
Okay, that's a daycare. Really state-of-the-art facility, and one of our local artists from Boaden, in fact, about 4 guys, a team of them, they've just done an amazing job in putting up the most fantastic mural. You should check it out on my Facebook page.
Wow. But let me tell you, I will blame myself because I have not gone that side for a while. But trust me, I have been to Mr. Sonny's Claus constituency, and I can testify to the things that he said he has done. But as my friend Dominic, I believe I'm doing you some injustice by not going around your constituency.
Tremendous injustice.
We want you and all of our supporters, our listeners, our people to move around and see the transformation which is taking place in all the constituencies throughout the length and breadth of St. Lucia. And this should excite us, excite our base, our people to come out now in droves and ensure that this United Workers' Party is re-elected, stays in office, and we keep Philip J. Pierre and the Labour Party in opposition.
My brother Harold, let me tell you, Sunday we have a tour. I join in Ring the Bell, Champagne, Dr. Secret, and a famous guy by the name of Lenny. We're going around the island to take pictures and videos and clips of the things that are done by this
Lenny with the ponytail?
Yes.
I know him very well.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much, caller.
We're going around the island and we'll take pictures to show what the government is doing, because let me tell you, this government has done so much work in 4 years. And the last time when I called a talk show, I told them, if the Labour Party could say what they do in 15 years, let's say 14 years that they govern this island, if they do a quarter of what the UWP did in 4.5 years, they deserve to win that coming election. And nobody has never called or challenged that, meaning that they have not done anything to improve the life of St. Lucians and to beautify our country. And Mr. Soniskas, I'll tell you something. When I saw that playing field in Soufre, I say, oh my God, you will go a very long way. And I can remember when I was a taxi driver and I used to go in the Sulphur Springs and I used to campaign for you because I used to tell the people, the two of us have the same name.
The same name, yes.
And they cannot at no time do not vote for Herod.
Herod number 2.
I tell you, if you all let Herod down, you all let me down.
Right.
And you all must put Herod in power.
Very nice. Thank you very much for the support.
Brother, I'm not disappointed in you. Dominic, likewise, the only disappointment I have with you, Mr. Fede, is because you're taking 2 years, 3 years to give me a call as your friend. I don't like that.
Thank you very much, caller.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Have a wonderful evening, young man.
Thank you.
Agreed. Thank you very much.
Callers, the number is 456-0931. Welcome to Constituency Vibes. Good night.
Hello.
Hello, caller. Welcome. Good night.
Good night.
Is that my friend from Conway?
Go ahead, caller.
May I say good night to the ministers?
Good night to you, sir.
And I'm very happy. I heard you said something about that the grant for people that go into business.
Very important.
Yeah, I'm very happy because I've been into some tourism attraction that's in PI.
Okay.
Mr. Herod know me very good, just below the Saltbus Junction.
Right.
And I'm looking to turn that place into a landmark. And I want every St. Lucian, that the young people that will be going to business, I want them to come and have a look at this place that It was a dump site, and I turned it into something. And I'm heading for something together, the United Workers' Party.
Right, right.
There is a future. There is so much potential in y'all. And I'm calling all the youth of St. Lucia. St. Lucian, make up your mind. We are putting our heads together with the United Workers' Party. There is future. There is opportunity. You all need to help yourself right now. We are in a situation where Labour Party don't give a damn about none of us. We have been by the wayside, just like a bag of garbage underneath Labour. And let's come together with the United Workers' Party. Mr. Herod.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to know when you'll bring Mr. Dominic Fede to see my development.
I'm going to find out from him when he's available, and we will come by and see you. I know your place very well. I
really want to see
whatever we can do to assist. And when we come in, we're going to be coming with your parliamentary rep as well, Honorable Bradley Felix. When we are coming, we are going to be coming with your parliamentary representative as well, Honorable Bradley Felix.
Bradley have to come also because
yes. We will not come without him.
A big plan, a beautification. We're not coming step program again. We're coming for a beautification program.
Yes.
We have to beautify St. Lucia.
Wonderful.
Does Herod have your number, caller? Because what I'm thinking is that I can...
But he know me very good.
I don't have your number, but I know you.
Okay. He know me very good.
Do you want to give it to Minister Fede on air? Do you want to leave your number with Minister Fede on air?
Okay, let me just say my last word. When you win the election, I want you to put palms by Mr. Layton all the way down to Soufreton.
Okay.
Right through.
Right. We can look into that. On both sides. The Kachime area as well as that area coming down.
Right, that's both sides. And I want to see flowers planted in between it.
Wonderful. Great idea.
Because before Sir John died, he came on the bridge just by me, all in white. And he told me, put palms on both sides of the road.
Okay.
And I told him before he died, in the vision, I told him that, sir, in between the palm trees, you need flowers. And I wake up that same morning, and I went and buy palms, and I put on both sides of the road, and look at the beauty of it now.
It's beautiful. Lovely.
We have to raise up St. Lucia.
Definitely,
my brothers, girl, take care.
Thank you, and have a good night.
And Mr. Herod, I'll give Leroy my number for you.
Okay, give it to Leroy, no problem.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much,
All
caller.
the best. All the best.
Of course, St. Lucia, this is your program, Constituency Vibes, 456-0931. Good night, caller. Welcome to Constituency Vibes.
Hello, good night. How is it? I like the program.
Thank you very much, caller.
Thank you.
Well, I'm calling from Soufre.
Oh, it's nice to hear your voice, caller.
Yeah, let me ask that question. The road between Express to Diamond into Soufre and in connection with some property out there. I'm asking, is there any way or anyone I can contact if they want to buy some pumice?
To contact to buy pumice, you'll have to speak with the contractor. If you're from Soufre, you go on site. There is a supervisor there. I think his name is Raj. He's a supervisor, the main supervisor for the contractor. You speak with him, and you all could get into some form of agreement for the pumice.
Thank you. Now, let me also tell you that they have, my cousin has some property right in the flat as you before Mount Penip is there. And I heard you mention some housing scheme.
Right.
For the future.
Yes.
Would it be possible to have any interaction with your concerning that?
Oh, definitely. I would love to meet with your cousin and whoever owns or is responsible or is the heir or whatever administrator of that estate, so that we can look into the acquisition, the purchase of the lands once the lands are suitable for housing. We are definitely interested, and we can talk and discuss it further.
Well, I'll come and make an appointment at your office, Mr.
No problem, my brother.
Very interesting, and have a very good night. And
yes,
I wish you luck in the upcoming polls.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much, caller.
Yes.
All right. Yeah.
Listeners, viewers, you're on to Constituency Vibes 4560931. This is your program where we bring you the information, we'll let you know what is happening, let you see how your government is working and functioning in action. Welcome, caller. Welcome to Constituency Vibes.
Hello?
Hello, good night. Welcome.
Ricky.
Go ahead, caller.
Hello?
Go ahead, caller.
Hello?
Hi, caller. Go ahead. We can hear you.
I'm listening. There is Gio here. Oh.
Go ahead, caller.
Hello, good night.
Good night, caller. You on air? Go ahead.
Hello, good night.
The person has something in the background.
If you have, we can hear you. If you have your radio turned up, please turn it down, or your TV. Please turn down your TV. Go ahead, caller.
What I was saying. Hello?
Yeah, go ahead. We can hear you.
All right, good night, everyone. Good night, Mr. Minister.
Good night, sir.
Good night.
Mr. Fede.
Good night, sir.
All right, I'm calling from Soufrière. I'm calling from Soufrière.
Yes. I recognize your voice. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm impressed with the presentation by both of the ministers. But with regards to, hello?
We can hear you. Go ahead.
Listening. Go ahead. Go ahead.
All right, I'm saying, I'm saying we have a perennial matter. We have a perennial matter to do with our roadside. Beauty will not be enhanced if our road to Soufrière via Vieux-Fort Choiseul and Canaries to Soufrière. What's happening here is that the side of the roads are in a deplorable state where grass is growing and coming onto the road, therefore closing the sides of the roads. Now, I have witnessed vehicles driving at high speed, and then they move to the curb, and the grass is still wet, and that is where some of those road cleaners are just piling up the grass. Now, these grass are now turning into, manure for other grass. If they could clear off this grass, this wet, dry grass, which is now growing to plant more grass, if they can get this off, then that could create some safety for our drivers and pedestrians, because even the drains are being blocked, and that will not enhance the beauty of our roadside if it's not taken care of. So we cannot look at the big infrastructure, but this little minor thing is a good development for the community and the country on a whole. So I'm saying that Soufrière, especially Soufrière, because where I live, the side of the road needs to be upgraded, where those persons who are cutting the grass do a good job by clearing off this grass and taking it over to the downside to be burned, because we cannot leave it there. As I said, I've witnessed vehicles
Understood,
put on the
caller.
side, and then bam, they go into the drain because it skids. So this have to be reenacted as soon as possible.
No problem. We have a national caretakers program, and we are going to take this message back to the Ministry of Infrastructure, which supervises the program, so that they can ensure that this is done.
It should be done as soon as possible.
No problem.
Because 2 months from now, we'll be back to the hurricane season.
Yeah, really hurricane season, yeah. No
Okay?
problem.
2 months from now. Now, the next thing, this is a message for Soufriérians. I think we are not blind. If the entire world, now the world is like a dot for us, everybody can see with internet and all kind of thing, that Soufrière has developed in four and a half years. No?
Right.
So, and there is room for development. Our people need to make the concerted effort to look at the bigger picture. When we look at the opposition who is saying, let us come together to transform Soufrière, what she's actually telling them people in Soufrière, the opposition, that she is supporting the transformation that Herod has already started.
That's right.
So, therefore, Soufriérians need to be cognizant of that. The opposition leader candidate cannot transform Soufrière, which is already being transformed. So all she's asking those persons out there is to come and support her together with Herod to continue the transformation.
The transformation. Well said, caller. Well said.
This is my take on that, and
Thank you very much.
She's calling on all her supporters to come with her to support
To
her,
support, yes.
to continue the transformation.
Yes,
Because
yes, wonderful.
if she gets there, she will not have the time and chance to do it. And we will be going back 20 years.
20 years. Yeah,
20
we regress to the next, to another 20 years of poor representation.
So in other words, caller, you're saying that Soufrière is already great. We don't need to make it great again.
No, it can. No, the person that to make it greater is already sitting next to you.
There you go. Thank you.
You understand?
Yes, thank you very much.
For the lady to make it great, she has to start from the bottom. And then time will surpass order. And then we'll be going back to 20, 25 years. And that will be too late for us to move on.
That's right. That's
We're
right.
already moving on. So let everybody in Soufrière put away the differences, put away the disgruntledness, put away the I want and I want, and let's put Mr. Herod back to where he is, and then everybody will get what they want after we win this election. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well said, caller.
Yep. Absolutely. Your number is 4560931. We're on Constituency Vibes, and of course we'll be wrapping up very shortly, so you're definitely welcome to make your contribution. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Constituency Vibes. Hello, good night.
Hello.
Hello, we can hear you. Go ahead, caller.
Yes, this is for Mr. Dominic.
Yes, sir.
And Dominic, how are you doing, my brother?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I've been quite fine. We work together already, and I just want the St. Lucian public to know, you are a very hard-working individual. We worked together for years at Sandals. I'm a musician also, but that's about it for now. But continue to do the work you're doing, my brother. I'm really, really, really proud of you. When I'm seeing the work that has been done in ancillary, because usually every Saturday I usually go down to around the coast with my friend, and the amount of work that has been done in the ancillary canneries, man, it's unbelievable. I know you cannot do everything in 4 years, and I just hope that the people of St. Lucia give you another chance, another 5 years for you to complete the work you have started, And Mr. Stanislas.
Yes, sir.
Good evening to you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Good evening.
Let me ask you a question, my brother. Are you a millionaire?
No.
Because
no, I'm not a millionaire, sir.
Because I cannot believe, my brother, that either you have some money hiding under your mattress, but the amount of work you have done within 3 to 4 years in Soufrière and the transformation, either boy you're sitting next to God,
Well, I have a very supportive Prime Minister, Minister of Finance, who shares in my vision for Soufrière, who loves the people of Soufrière, the constituency, and who wants to see the best comes out of this. And of course, I have my colleague Dominic and the other ministers in cabinet who are very, very supportive of my plans, my agenda, my vision for Soufrière. So I get a lot of support.
And you see what's amazing now, when you're coming down, before you get to the Soufrière town, man, and you come down that hill going on to the Soufrière town, you see in that mini stadium, man. The beauty. This is one of the things I look forward to, look at the beauty, man, to see.
And it's not completed yet. Huh? We have some major works to do on the grandstands.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So when that is done and painted and everything, and the lights and the seating and the changing rooms, the locker rooms, the new entrance, about 2 or 3 entrances into the stadium is going to be phenomenal.
Wow. This is unbelievable. Kudos to this government and the Prime Minister. The amount of heat that Prime Minister have gotten. Because remember, from day one they have been attacking the Prime Minister.
That's right.
Yes.
You understand?
But he has always remained focused. He's always he's a very resilient individual, and he has a vision and he's not going to be distracted by the naysayers and the critics out there.
Now, the final thing I want to ask you, I mean, I don't know if you probably know, regarding the St. Jude, do you think that we will finish St. Jude this, before the election? I mean, I'm very optimistic that it will not be done.
I am very confident, very optimistic as well that we are going to finish St. Jude's. I know the cladding and everything is going on very well. They should be finishing the cladding either at the end of this week or sometime next week. So I'm very confident that St. Jude's will be finished. And in the next couple of weeks, we are going to be moving people into St. Jude's from the stadium. I have a lot of confidence in my colleague Minister Guy Joseph. He's a man of his words, and I believe that he's going to get this hospital finished. And when it's done, we're going to have a world-class hospital in St. Jude's for the people of the South.
Because, Mr. Sanders, what we don't want, I mean, as much I might support the party, but we see what we don't want. We don't want, because election is close, that we rush in. Because I think whether or not this government completes St. Jude or not, they're still going to win the election.
Definitely so.
But we don't want to be rushing, you understand, because we feel, well, boy, we need to finish that to get an extra point. You understand? You know,
Right.
I think it's best that, you know, we take, the government take the time, because, I mean, you know, it will finish eventually. But you see, you don't want to rush, you understand, you know, because of knowing, well, boy, without that, the government may not win the election. But I think whether or not the government completed this year or not, they still will win, because the track record and what they have done will show that they have worked.
Absolutely. But caller, plants are also in a very advanced stage at St. Jude. That's what's happening as well.
Okay.
All right.
Yes, sir.
But thank you very much, caller.
Yes, man, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Great to hear your voice again.
Yeah, my brother, yes.
Okay, have a good night.
All the best. Yeah, bye.
4560931 caller. Hello, good night. Constituency Vibes, welcome.
Hello, good night.
Good night, sir.
May I speak to Mr. Fede, please?
Hi, good night.
Mr. Fede,
Hi, sir.
how are you?
Doing very well. How are you?
I'm okay. I am hearing that you are praying for people to die at Anstericanries so that you can pay people death. That's what I'm hearing. People funeral. You are praying for the death of the Canries, Anstericanries people. Is that true? That is what you are doing? Praying for people to die in Anstericanries?
Caller, hold on
For
there,
you
caller.
to go and give them money?
Caller.
Is that what you're doing?
We have this program. It's a program where we want people to express their views. Of course, it's about looking at the issues, weighing the issues. If you disagree with a point of view, of course, you can explain and give your reasons why you disagree. But this is not a show where we encourage people to attack people and make wild accusations. So. Good night. Welcome to Constituency Vibes.
Good night, Mr. Ricky.
Good night, sir. Welcome.
That's the man himself. The man himself.
Good night.
Well, boy, I was asking when you were going to call. I'm waiting for your call.
Well, you know, tonight this is the busiest station in the Caribbean, man.
It is really, it is.
Let me say this to you, gentlemen. I'll give you the bad news first. Not the bad news.
Go ahead, caller.
Depends how you take it. First and foremost, the SFP should not be on the ballot. First. Nobody can give me one good reason why the SFP is on the ballot. Not one good reason why they should be on the ballot. In the real world, the SFP wouldn't be on the ballot. Period. For the amount of atrocities and lies and everything like that. To my mind, or for anybody's mind, even those that ain't born yet, will tell you they're the worst political party. They're the worst political party in history. Now, let me give you the good news. To you gentlemen, you all remind me of you two gentlemen, Mr. Fede and Mr. Herod. You all remind me of Alton Kalichiran and Lawrence Rowe. I don't know if you all...
Yeah, very good cricketers, good batsmen, yeah.
Not only very good, but on their debut, they came in at a time when the great Sagrafi Sobers
and the great Ron Kadai was going out. They came in, 2 youngsters came in, okay, old man, look, go back. We have this. This belongs to us. And they made them back one time. That's what you're doing in St. Lucia. That's what you're doing in the Caribbean. That's what you're doing on the world stage. I'm very impressed with y'all. And you know what? Y'all are the leader. Y'all are very, very, y'all came the right time. The right opportune time to have Allo Michael Shaste without any doubt, This man is the greatest and the best leader on the planet. Without any doubt. He's a man that takes what and turn it to gold, while the SLP takes gold and turn it, to what?
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? If you'll only keep staying focused and listen to that man, don't listen to those jokers out there. Those cabaret jokers, don't worry about them.
Right.
Don't worry about them. They got too much style in them. Too much style.
Right.
And on the Shaste, Lee said, the man is real. He's the real deal. As a matter of fact, I call him the Brian Lara.
Okay.
He's the Brian Lara. Because he bats. Some men go only bat when the wicket is good. But this man, he bats when the ball is moving around. Whether they got Abdul Quadri or Shane Warne or Matthew McCram, those guys, he's going to score runs. Whether the pitch wet or dry, he's going to score runs. That's what, man, that's class. He's a class player.
Right.
Class player. And you guys couldn't want a better leader. I couldn't call for a better leader. The world couldn't ask for a better leader than this man. And you guys, man,
Very true caller.
excellent job, man. Just keep piling up the runs.
Thank you so very much. Well appreciated.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, caller.
Thank you so very much. Thank you.
4560931, that is your station, the People's Station, where you have your government working hard for you. 4560931, welcome to Constituency Vibes.
Hello, good night, Mr. Stanislas.
Good night, miss. Good night.
Good night, Mr. Haley.
Good night.
Well, Mr. Stanislas, I know you very well, and I guess you probably know me. That's Sandia.
Who's that?
Just speak a little louder, caller.
Yeah, I'm not hearing you.
Okay, I said that's Sandia.
Candia.
Yes.
Okay.
From Ravino.
Yes, Candia. How you doing?
I'm blessed.
Okay, wonderful. Nice to hear from you.
Okay. Well, I see you doing a fantastic job. And I just telling you, don't worry, letting people say we always get them all them kind of critics and all kind of thing with the Labour Party.
Right.
So you just have to put your head forward and just continue what you're doing. All right, Mr. Dominic Kelly, I see the painting resume. They know people already. We always black marking things as election. You want to paint and do all the kind of things. But don't worry then. We're going forward. We're not going backward.
That's right. Forward ever, now backward never.
And if it passes E6, we're bringing that one home.
Right.
That one is ours.
Definitely. We believe in that. We believe in our sister, Fortuna Belrose, that she's going to bring this seat home.
Oh, yes.
And put Philip JPA in political retirement once and for all.
And what will happen to Marsha?
Marsha is going to be the city underneath Fortuna Belrose.
Oh, yes. Fortuna all the way. We have our support 100%.
Wonderful. Good to know, Candia.
Very good to know.
Yes.
Very, very good to know.
And we
guys have a blessed night.
Yes, thank you very much. We appreciate your support. Keep on supporting your party, your candidate, your prime minister. And that is going to ensure that victory comes home when the bell rings, when we go to the polls.
I think the same passes is safe.
Very nice. Yeah. I'm excited. I cannot wait. We have to get out there. We have to do what we have to do and keep those guys in a position for a very, very long time.
I know. And
yes.
We're not losing none for them. We're doing it all.
Oh, that's right.
17-0.
All right.
Something for them to remember.
That's right.
Anyway, you have a blessed night, and when you go back home, just be careful.
Thank you very much, my dear. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, caller.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good night, caller 4560931, and we'll be wrapping up very shortly. And of course, this is Constituency Vibes. My guest tonight, the Honorable Dominic Fede and Harold Stanislas, Member for Parliament of Soufrière and Story. Welcome, caller. Good night. Welcome to Constituency Vibes. Hello, good night. Welcome, caller.
Are you hearing me?
Yes, we can hear you now. Go ahead, caller.
Okay, just now, let me just raise up a little. Okay. Good night, Ricky.
Good night, sir.
How are you doing?
I am good. How about you?
Okay, you know me well, I know you well. We used to live together.
Okay, all right. That's nice
That's
to hear.
Pussy.
Okay, all right, Pussy. Nice to hear you.
Okay. My minister, good night, my minister.
Good night, good night. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all right.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah, I'm telling you, keep doing what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Do not worry yourself about the labor freaks, you know?
Right.
Yeah, because they're just there to try to put you all up.
Mm-hmm.
But I realized one thing I realized about my prime minister, all what they are saying, my prime minister not even taking them on, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
We are just working. We are just working.
Yeah, he's just doing what he has to do, you know?
And that's what we have to do.
I like that
Keep on
about
working.
him, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I come into my minister there, Minister Herod. That's Pussy.
Yes,
Minister
Pussy.
Herod.
Yes, Pussy.
Yeah, I was in Soufrière last Monday and Tuesday.
Okay.
I went by the road they're doing, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and I see they are doing a good job, you know, although he has not finished. But
Which road are you talking about? Which one? Which one of the roads?
The one from through Aston to go into Diamond.
Yeah. They just started about 2.5 weeks ago. So
Yeah, because
so they have a couple of months there to
around
complete
that
it.
area there, and I went and see
Right.
what's going on, you know, and I stopped just by my sister place there.
Nice.
You know, although it hasn't finished, but it looks like that will be a good road for the people, you know.
Oh yeah, beautiful. It's
Because
going to be a wonderful, wonderful road.
I remember you promised people that you're going to do that road for them, you know.
That's right. That's right. That was one of my promises, and I'm very
Yeah,
happy
that's
that
right.
I am able to deliver on this promise
No,
because
that's
it is
something-
going
that's
to
one thing
impact the
You
lives of the
always-
people
whatever
of
you say you're going to do, you'll
Diamond
always do it,
Experience
you know?
tremendously. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So I'm just telling you, my minister,
Mhm.
keep it up and continue doing what you're doing. And once I was in Soufrière, I went by the playing field, man. And I look at the playing field as if that's an international playing field.
It
I
is.
met a
Oh,
good
yes.
friend of mine. They call him Fauché, you know.
Yeah.
And I had a chat with him. I was telling him about the field, you know. And my minister,
Mhm.
that's a great job on the field. As you said, it haven't finished, but that's a good job, you know.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. Just keep on doing what you're doing, and don't worry yourself about the freaks, you know.
No problem. No problem, Pussy.
Yeah. So, my
We'll keep
minister,
that
when
in
you're
mind.
going home, precaution and return
Yes.
safe.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night,
You're
caller.
welcome.
Yes.
Thank you.
And we're taking one more call. We have Parliament tomorrow. We'll get our ministers going. And this is our last call tonight at Constituency Vibes. Welcome, caller. Hello, good night. Okay. We lost that caller. Hello, good night. Welcome, caller. Okay, we seem to be keep losing that caller. All right, well, our final call will be taken 4560931. Welcome, caller. Hello, good night.
Good night.
Good night, we can hear you. Go ahead, caller.
First time calling the show. First time I heard the show.
Okay, good night. Welcome.
Yeah. I'm a frequent caller on as many shows as I can get. And what really attracts me is constituency talk.
Okay, caller. It's nice
Right,
to know.
right. Well, of course, as you know, every one of us is based in a constituency, as they put it. So my question is it important that we get the news, relevant news from our community? I don't think we are stressing enough on things that are happening in the country. In certain parts, you know, as though the media are not too attractive to, you know, some beneficial things that that may be happening, or even some really problematic things. I mean, where we could even approach crime from a certain example in a community, you know, which a minister can lead. Or certain things that will send a message to the people, unbiased message, right? Because we have, for instance, in our community in Manipur where a road was built. A new one, right? Concrete road.
Mm-hmm.
But is enough research being done? And how does that help in the way government, is there a policy? How does it help the rest of the country? How we go about things? You know, how we show at developing some lands by putting these roads out there. It raises the value of the land.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes.
And we need to, the government themselves need to do their research and to, you know, do things in a particular way because it might hinder the otherwise private, you know, concern in the community. And that's where the news should come in and to say, well, okay, such and such is happening. And the constituency, you know, vibes, I think is a good forum to do that, except what I'm hearing is like, you know, although it's very partisan, but I think we should have two good sides, right? Two good views to choose from. So some people might have chosen to continue voting UWP because of their parents and what have you, but there's a reality why SLP was used to be in the dark a long time ago. And the reality how they came out and how they got back there, and there's a story to it. And it's not automatic that the UWP would remain, but by doing the work, I mean, it's like the playing field the gentleman spoke about, that's an additional asset.
Mm.
But there are things that social issues that would have been helped by the way, even the way the government addressed certain issues. And if it does not really show up, we can take examples from it. It does like it never happened. So we need to kind of coordinate. I think it's time to, you know, really involve the community.
Yes, Scholar. This is. Let me just say that we
separate entities or on a national level.
We bring you a holistic approach to what is happening throughout the length and breadth of the country, and so you get the perspective from what we're doing. So the evidence is there for you to see what is happening, as you indicated in terms of the road in your constituency and what is happening. So we thank you very much for calling as we wrap up our program tonight. Okay, have a wonderful evening.
Yeah.
Viewers, listeners, you have been with us on Constituency Vibes, and of course we will keep reaching out to you, sharing with you what is happening, and we want you to open your eyes. You compare and contrast, and you can see the difference on what the government is doing to transform the entire country and to impact lives in a meaningful way. So, ministers, as we wrap up, we'll start with your closing remarks. Minister Fede.
I want to thank you very much, Ricky, for having us tonight, and I want to thank all of the callers who called and made this show such an exciting one, such an engaging one. It was so interesting to hear the various comments and to hear the level of enthusiasm and the confidence that they have placed in our administration is really an inspiration to both Herod and myself. And I want to say a special good night to my constituents and to also thank them for listening. I know quite a few of them were trying to call, but it seems like the line was hogged by Soufre tonight. But really, it's been an absolute pleasure, and it's been great fun. And thank you so very, very much. The challenges that we face at present are very, very crucial and vital challenges. And maybe in the coming weeks, months, not sure, whenever the Prime Minister decides to ring that bell, is going to be a very important decision that this country will have to make about its future. And I think that really this will be a referendum on who do you trust more to begin the recovery of this country from the hold that COVID-19 has placed on us. And really, we will have to determine in which direction we want to go. Judging from the calls you have tonight, I think that, you know, the people have already made up their minds. And it is something that we're both humbled by. And we want to use this as an opportunity for us to go forward and for us to continue to do all the work that we have started in rebuilding St. Lucia, putting this country back to work, and getting our families, our workers, really engaged in gainful economic activity again. So thank you so very much.
You're welcome, Minister. It's my joy to have you.
Thank you very much, Ricky. It's always a pleasure to be here with you to answer your questions and that of our listeners, our callers. And I want to say thank you to the callers tonight and all the listeners throughout the land from Breath of St. Lucia. Yeah, we really, really enjoyed the time spent here tonight. I'm coming from Parliament, and of course, tomorrow morning we're back in Parliament to continue debating the estimates of revenue and expenditure. I want to let the viewers, that the people know that this government is a focused government. This government will continue to work in your interest, will continue to care for you, the people of St. Lucia, and do not fall for the rhetoric, the propaganda, the lies of the opposition. These are men and women who are only concerned about themselves, about power, and they have no care about you or the people of this country. This is a working government. This is a government which has steered the ship on the right course since this pandemic, and we are very optimistic, we are very hopeful that the future is going to be a very good one for St. Lucia. Yes, we are in unprecedented times. There are lots of uncertainties ahead, but we know that we have the capacity, we have the ability, we have a visionary leader who is going to captain this ship and get St. Lucia back again on that course of growth, development, and keep on moving. So thank you very, very much, listeners. Thank you, Ricky, and have a very good night.
Thank you, ministers, of course, and it's my joy and pleasure to have you. And thank you to our callers and viewers. And of course, next Wednesday we have another wonderful program for you as well on Constituency Vibes. We want you to remember to follow the protocol, remember to social distancing, wear your mask, and ensure you do what is required of you in that regard. And of course, we ask you to do stay safe, and of course, by God's grace, we'll all be safe and sound. So good night, viewers and listeners. We look forward to meeting you again next Wednesday when we have another program, Constituency Vibes.
Crossfire, discussing the issues. Norbert Williams, Champagne, Dr. Secret, and Ring the Bell. Thursdays, 8 p.m. on Sky FM and GVD TV. Don't you miss it. Crossfire, discussing the issues. Norbert Williams, Champagne, Dr. Secret, and Ring the Bell. Thursdays, 8 p.m. on Sky FM and GVD TV. Don't you miss it.
Everybody ready? All on board!
Oh, how we miss the good old days. The rallies, the flags, your outfits, and connecting with you in person. COVID is a new reality, but the show must go on. On Sunday, March 21st, we kick off the first in a series of live virtual meetings. Meet your new candidates and listen to your trusted MPs as we take you on a recap of the past 5 years and set the master plan for the continued progress and development of our St. Lucia.
Sunday, March 21st, 7 p.m. live on DBS Television, Hot 7 TV, GTV TV, Facebook, and YouTube. The United Workers' Party. Let's keep working.
Everybody hopping up on the Flavo train. Everybody
My mother sent us back. It was out of his breakfast to give us water. Still didn't get it.
Things were very difficult with my parents, and my mother opened a small bakery in the Castries area.
Because my father do everything he could do for me, not for himself, for me, personally. And from there, when I see my house from there yesterday, and I just remember my mother and my father every day, how they take it so hard to bring us up. And I seen from today there, I have 2 disabled children from mother. The mother asks for freedom, and they don't want that freedom, you know.
Oh, how we miss the good old days. The rallies, the flags, your outfits, and connecting with you in person. COVID is a new reality, but the show must go on. On Sunday, March 21st, we kick off the first in a series of live virtual meetings. Meet your new candidates and listen to your trusted MPs as we take you on a recap of the past 5 years and set the master plan for the continued progress and development of our St. Lucia.
Sunday, March 21st, 7 p.m. live on DBS Television, Hot 7 TV, GTV TV, Facebook, and YouTube. The United Workers' Party. Let's keep working.
Everybody hopping up on the Flamo train. Everybody
Crossfire, discussing the issues. Norbert Williams, Champagne, Dr. Secret, and Ring the Bell. Thursdays, 8 p.m. on Sky FM and GVD TV. Don't you miss it.